Gobekli Tepe is an archaeological site located in southeastern Turkey that has perplexed archaeologists and historians for decades. This Neolithic site contains elaborate stone circles and T-shaped pillars that predate the invention of writing, the wheel, and pottery. At over 11,000 years old, Gobekli Tepe is considered the oldest known temple in the world, predating Egypt's pyramids and Stonehenge by thousands of years. The discovery of this site has completely overturned conventional thinking about the development of human civilization. The main mysteries surrounding Gobekli Tepe. There are several mysteries surrounding Gobekli Tepe that have captivated researchers. Its impossibly early construction date. Gobekli Tepe dates back over 11,000 years, to a time when hunter-gatherer societies were thought to be nomadic and incapable of such complex architectural achievements. This challenges mainstream historical narratives about the progression of human civilization. The purpose and function of the site. Gobekli Tepe has no signs of habitation, and appears to have been used as a religious temple or gathering place. But its elaborate carvings seem to depict much more than simple animistic religion. What were people doing here 11,500 years ago? The significance of its animal iconography. Gobekli Tepe's pillars are decorated with intricate reliefs of dangerous animals like lions, scorpions, foxes, and vultures. The carvings appear to symbolize important mythological concepts, but their meaning has been lost to the ages. How people with primitive technology were able to construct it. Building Gobekli Tepe would have required a tremendous amount of manpower. How could hunter-gatherers organize construction on such a large scale? What was the source of their inspiration? Why it was purposefully buried. After several hundred years of use, Gobekli Tepe was deliberately backfilled with sediment and buried, forever hidden from the world. Archaeologists still don't understand why its builders went through great effort to entomb their creation. The discovery of Gobekli Tepe. Gobekli Tepe was discovered completely by accident. In 1994, a Kurdish shepherd named Savak Yildiz was grazing his sheep and goats on the hilltop when he noticed small pieces of flint scattered across the ground. These bits of flint looked old and weathered, so Yildiz brought a few pieces to a local archaeologist. Archaeologists surveyed the area and realized that this was no normal hilltop. It was a man-made mound that had been built up over centuries. In 1995, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began a full-scale excavation of Gobekli Tepe. He quickly realized the site's immense historical significance. Schmidt and his team unearthed a series of round sunken pits dug into the hilltop, surrounded by large limestone pillars arranged in circles. These enormous T-shaped pillars were 3–6 meters tall and weighed up to 10 tons. They appeared to have been carved from local limestone bedrock with primitive stone tools. Schmidt's team also found rubble indicative of wooden roofs and walls, making Gobekli Tepe the oldest known temple in the world. Radiocarbon dating of organic material found in the pits indicated the site was 12,000 years old. This was completely unexpected, as no other large-scale construction projects existed anywhere in the world during the Neolithic era. Gobekli Tepe predated the generally accepted beginnings of civilization by at least 6,000 years. The shockingly early construction period of Gobekli Tepe upended the traditional narrative that hunter-gatherers were nomadic and incapable of advanced social organization. Clearly, a group of hunter-gatherers was capable of cooperating to build one of the most complex structures ever found. This prompted new questions about the trajectory and origins of human civilization. Description of Gobekli Tepe. Gobekli Tepe is situated at the top of a ridge overlooking the plains of Anlurfa in southeastern Turkey. The mound or tell is approximately 15 meters high and 300 meters in diameter. It is composed of soil and stone rubble that was purposefully piled on top of the site by its Neolithic builders after they backfilled the pits. The site has three main archaeological layers that correspond to different phases of construction. The oldest, Layer 3, contains the most impressive stone circles with gigantic T-shaped monolithic pillars, some weighing over 10 tons. To date, at least 20 circles have been found, although there may be many more. The pillars are 3–6 m tall and are fixed within adjoining walls. Slots are carved into the walls and the pillars are set carefully within them. Shorter pillars are placed between the larger ones, some decorated with animals and abstract symbols. After the immense effort of carving and erecting them, the spaces between the pillars were backfilled with rubble and debris. Layer 2 dates a few hundred years after Layer 3. The circles continue, though with smaller and simpler pillars. The most impressive part of Layer 2 is the stone terracing carved out of the bedrock. This terracing suggests Gobekli Tepe may have hosted feasts and celebrations, with food and drink preparation areas. Layer I is the uppermost and most recent layer. It contains no traces of carved pillars or circular shrines. Instead, it appears to have been used for domestic purposes rather than ritualistic functions. At the very top is the mound itself, built up over centuries as debris and sediment covered the abandoned site. Taken together, the layers indicate that Gobekli Tepe was first used as a sacred gathering place, then slowly lost its importance and was used temporarily as a domestic area before being backfilled and buried for reasons unknown. The pillars and reliefs at Gobekli Tepe. The most striking aspect of Gobekli Tepe are the numerous limestone pillars decorating its stone circles. The largest pillars are over 5 meters tall and weigh between 40–60 tons. Creating them would have required immense manpower, determination, and coordination. The T-shaped pillars are etched with a variety of animal motifs, mostly dangerous creatures such as lions, snakes, wild boars, foxes, and insects. Birds like vultures, ducks, and geese are also common. For some unknown reason, spiders and scorpions appear frequently. The relief carvings are impressive but difficult to decipher. In addition to animal carvings, there are occasional human-like figures. These include headless human torsos with arms, hands, belts, and loincloths. There is also a figure nicknamed the Temple Priest, a human rendered frontally with arms outstretched, almost resembling a modern depiction of Jesus on the cross. The pillars clearly symbolize more than just decorative art. They appear to represent mythical tales, status, power, or genealogy, but without any written clues, archaeologists are left to speculate on their exact significance and what they revealed to their Stone Age creators. The animal imagery at Gobekli Tepe. The animal reliefs decorating Gobekli Tepe's pillars showcase a broad range of species, both wild and domesticated. They provide tantalizing clues into the mythological cosmology of their Neolithic creators. The menagerie of animals includes wild cats, lions, leopards, lynxes, and cheetahs. They are rendered crouching, hissing, and poised to pounce as intimidating figures. As apex predators, big cats likely symbolize strength, power, or valor. Birds of prey, vultures, condors, and owls. Vultures are the most commonly depicted birds by far. Over 100 vulture images have been found. Vultures scavenge death and decay and were likely symbolic of past ancestors or the journey into the afterlife. Scavengers, foxes, jackals, wolves, and hyenas. These creatures live on the fringes of society and clean up waste and carrion. They may be guides or protectors of the underworld. Herbivores, cattle, gazelle, wild donkeys, boar, and deer. These docile creatures represent sustenance and survival, as well as divine offerings to the gods. Reptiles and insects, snakes, scorpions, spiders, and honeybees. These creatures invoke fear and danger, but also fertility and regeneration. This broad symbolic bestiary indicates Gobekli Tepe served as a nexus between the heavenly sphere of gods and the earthly sphere of men. The reliefs may represent a pact between spiritual protectors and the humans they guarded over. However, the exact significance of each animal remains one of Gobekli Tepe's many mysteries. Gobekli Tepe's perplexing date. What makes Gobekli Tepe such an influential archaeological site is its unexpectedly early construction period. Conventional wisdom states that prehistoric hunter-gatherers were nomadic groups too, concerned with day-to-day survival to have time for grand architecture or artistic pursuits. Megalithic monuments like Gobekli Tepe were thought to have emerged around 5000–4000 BC. Once agriculture took root and civilizations began to form, Gobekli Tepe presents solid evidence that this narrative is completely wrong. Radiocarbon dating of organic deposits and pillar carvings places its construction sometime between 1000–9000 BC, in the closing centuries of the last ice age. This corresponds to the pre-pottery Neolithic Apina period, over 6,000 years before the generally accepted rise of civilization. Pina cultures were nomadic hunter-gatherers, just developing proto-farming and animal domestication. These people possessed crude stone tools and mud huts as shelter. Such small tribal groups were previously assumed to be concerned solely with day-to-day survival, yet they somehow mobilized to construct the most complex temple of its time at Gobekli Tepe. This extremely early date thoroughly disrupts the paradigm of simple hunter-gatherer societies, slowly transitioning into farmers and city dwellers who built the first monumental structures. Gobekli Tepe demonstrates that organized religion and megalithic architecture rose millennia before the Neolithic Revolution spurred true civilization. How this was possible is an enigma modern archaeologists are still trying to unravel. Construction, theories, and hypotheses. The existence of such a massive and elaborate structure built by primitive hunter-gatherers prompts the question: how was Gobekli Tepe constructed? Archaeologists calculate that at least 500 people would have been required to extract the heavy pillars from quarries, drag them significant distances to the site, carve their decorations, and erect them upright in elaborate patterns. It's estimated the largest pillars weigh over 50 tons, making their transport and erection an incredible feat of Neolithic engineering. This labor force would have required strong leadership and management. It's theorized that nomadic tribes gathered at Gobekli Tepe seasonally when climate conditions favored hunting and gathering in the region. They lived in temporary camps beside the sanctuary, moving on once resources became scarce. Camp members would journey to the hilltop to perform rituals, feasts, and funerary rites. Construction likely took place gradually over generations, perhaps spanning hundreds of years. It's hypothesized that pillars began as simple limestone slabs that grew more elaborate through time. This would account for their increasing complexity and refinement. Once a pillar was placed, backfilling quickly ensued to preserve its position. The source of vitality and inspiration that drove construction is unknown. Perhaps Gobekli Tepe was a graveyard of influential ancestors, which would explain its treatment as sacred ground. Or shamanic visions may have guided organization of the ritual center. Regardless, it demonstrates that hunter-gatherers were capable of much more than simply hunting and foraging to survive. Ultimately, how Gobekli Tepe was built by pre-pottery Neolithic people remains a mystery modern science can only partially explain. Advanced construction techniques, thought to be impossible for its time, were clearly utilized, forcing a re-evaluation of Paleolithic civilization. Gobekli Tepe's purpose and function. The intended purpose of Gobekli Tepe is difficult to determine, given the site's great antiquity. However, archaeologists have identified several likely roles. This megalithic monument served for its Neolithic community, based on artifacts found in the area. Religion and ritual. With no evidence of settlement or habitation, Gobekli Tepe appears to have functioned as a sacred meeting space for regional tribes to gather periodically. The prominent symbolism on its pillars suggests they were meant to evoke mythological tales and divine entities during ritualistic or funerary rites. The circular arrangements may have been cosmologic diagrams of heavenly bodies. The site likely served as an important destination for spiritual gatherings, rituals, and storytelling. Burials and ancestor worship. Although no graves have been found, Schmidt and others theorize that Gobekli Tepe began as a funerary complex or necropolis. Pillars may have been erected over burials to honor the dead, then enclosed within mound rubble. The prevalence of scavenger birds and predatory cats perhaps signify guides to the underworld. Ancestor veneration at these monuments would have been critical for nomadic groups lacking permanent settlement. Feasting and celebration. The terraces carved into the bedrock during Layer 2 may have served as platforms for food preparation, cooking, and feasting rituals. Animal bones found nearby indicate mass butchering and roasting of game. It's possible Gobekli Tepe hosted communal feasts, dances, celebrations, and ceremonies to bring far-flung tribes together. These traditions would strengthen social bonds between groups. Trade and communication. Sitting atop a ridge overlooking miles of territory, Gobekli Tepe would have been visible for many kilometers. It may have served as a landmark and meeting point for regional tribes to gather, exchange knowledge and resources, find mates, and form alliances. Tools made from obsidian not native to the area have been found, indicating trade networks. While its exact function remains ambiguous, Gobekli Tepe was clearly a sacred destination where important Neolithic cultural customs were practiced and regional tribes came together regularly to trade, exchange knowledge, find mates, practice religious rites, bury ancestors, and forge alliances. The significance of Gobekli Tepe's animal iconography. The intricate animal iconography of Gobekli Tepe provides tantalizing clues into its role in Neolithic society. Archaeologists believe the animal depictions symbolize mythical tales, hierarchies, clans, spiritual protectors, or passage into the afterlife. Interestingly, the animals match what we know about the local ecology and surroundings. Dangerous predators. Images of lions, leopards, snakes, birds of prey, and spiders invoke fear and danger. They may represent stories or concepts like power, valor, chaos, or the underworld. As deadly predators, big cats symbolize strength and status. Scavengers. Foxes, vultures, and hyenas repeatedly appear on pillars and are thought to represent spiritual guardians or protection. As creatures who clean up death and waste, they perhaps signify guides who escort souls of the deceased to the afterlife or underworld. Herbivores. Numerous big game animals like cattle, boar, gazelle, and deer are depicted. These creatures were vital sources of sustenance and nourishment for the region's hunter-gatherers. They symbolize survival, life force, or offerings to the gods. Insects. Scorpions and insects like bees appear frequently, as crop pollinators and creatures perceived both positively and negatively. Insects may represent themes like fertility, regeneration, transition, or rebirth. The menagerie of creatures depicted at Gobekli Tepe demonstrates that each animal carried profound symbolic significance in the Stone Age mindset. Interpreting these myths and messages is key to unlocking the secrets of Gobekli Tepe. While their meaning still largely eludes modern scholars, the animal pillars clearly reflect the mental landscape of the humans who constructed and used the site. Gobekli Tepe's perplexing burial. Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Gobekli Tepe is why this spectacular monument was intentionally buried shortly after its completion. Archaeologists have determined that around 8000 BC, just a few hundred years after construction began, the builders backfilled Gobekli Tepe with tons of rubble and sediment, hiding it from view. This burial lasted over 10,000 years before the site's recent rediscovery. Scholars have proposed numerous theories to explain Gobekli Tepe's purposeful entombment. It may have been buried gradually as part of construction methods or part of ritualistic practices. Backfilling rubble around pillars helped support and preserve them. Burying old enclosures may have been symbolic of closing sacred spaces as new ones were built. Burial may have occurred due to cultural or environmental upheaval in the region, such as climate change at the end of the last ice age forcing population shifts. As tribes migrated away, Gobekli Tepe was intentionally covered to protect it. Perhaps it was buried to assert authority and control over knowledge. As later belief systems developed, burying Gobekli Tepe allowed emerging rulers or spiritual leaders to control the ideologies tied to it. Its burial may simply indicate declining regional importance and relevance of the site over time as belief systems changed. It was filled in once it no longer served a vital role in society. Ultimately, why Gobekli Tepe was entombed still eludes historians. It may have been for ritualistic reasons, or simply obsolete and abandoned as nomadic tribes moved to new areas. But it's clear the builders took great efforts to deliberately hide their creation away for unknown purposes, only now being revealed 11,500 years later. More theories may emerge as excavation of the mound continues. Ongoing excavations and future discoveries. The implications of Gobekli Tepe are enormous for our understanding of early prehistoric civilization. Since its discovery less than 30 years ago, ongoing excavations continue to uncover new facts about its ancient builders. Archaeologists predict it will take at least another 50 years to fully excavate and understand the site. Already less than 10% has been unearthed. The remainder still holds unexplored mysteries and surprises. Work thus far has revealed Gobekli Tepe was clearly a sacred destination for regional tribes based on its scale, intricate iconography, and lack of residences. Yet major questions still remain unanswered. How was it built with such massive effort? What detail do the animal carvings convey about their beliefs? Why was it eventually buried? Ongoing excavations and analysis continues to unravel the significance of this site.